So I'm in Boston. But to tell you the honest to God truth, I wanted to live in Boston because I was going to be able to go to New York. New York was my dream. Anyway, living in Boston. And one night this guy's booked a one-nighter, a couple one-nighters down in Greenwich Village at the bitter end. And I got to go to New York to the bitter end. $50 I think we got. Went down there, a bunch of comedians from Boston. A few, not a bunch, a few. But went down to the bitter end and performed down there. And I loved New York. New York was great. But then I went back to Boston and back on the road again. Anyway, while I was in Boston one night, the booking guy, the booking agent for the David Letterman show, came up to see some Boston comedians. And I didn't get picked. I wasn't one of the comedians that they wanted to see. And I got kind of bummed out about that. So anyway, I found a really funny card. It was a funny card. I forget what it was funny. And I sent it to him. I sent it to the booker. I say, I would love to audition for you, but you didn't see me when you were in Boston. And I guess the card was funny. And he got back to me and invited me to come down to New York to Catch a Rising Star, to audition for him. And I'd been to Catch a Rising Star once before. I took a trip down to Boston because a woman that did the showcase night in Boston invited me down there because I worked with her in Birmingham, Alabama. And so she invited me down to Catch a Rising Star. And needless to say, I sucked. I bombed. I didn't have a good night that night. But that's okay. Now I've got the booker from the David Letterman show to come to Catch a Rising Star to see me. And I was excited. I was pumped. And so when I got down to Catch a Rising Star, I sat outside on the sidewalk on First Avenue, smoking hash and listening to the Rolling Stones on my Walkman, getting pumped up, I got stoned. And then I went in, I was raggedy looking too. My hair was really long, I had holes in my jeans. I had a vibe. That's what I was going for. But anyway, I get onto the stage at Catch a Rising Star. The booker's there. And needless to say, I sucked. I mean, really, I bombed. I mean, there was an explosion. People just stared at me like I did something wrong to their children or something. They just gave me that look like, what the fuck? Get off of the stage, pal. You suck. And so I sucked. And the book was really nice. He thanked me for coming down there, but needless to say, I was disappointed. I did not do very well. And so back up to Boston with my tail between my legs. But that's okay. I was still living in Boston, and I was working, and I was still going out on the road all the time, getting a lot of gigs down in Florida, because there's so many gigs in Florida. I worked a lot with Sinbad, the great comedian Sinbad. I worked a lot with him. He drove around and everything. He brought me with him. I was his opening act, and he'd drive it. We'd go all over the place. And then one day, this was in Florida, and one night he was in Boston, and I ran into him there, and I hung out with him and stayed with him for a minute in Boston. Things were good. I had a nice little house that I lived in Boston, in the Austin section. Everything was very cool. Playing the clubs there like Stitches and Nick's, and played again Sam's, and, Comedy Connection. Boston was my home, but New York was my dream. And I eventually moved down to New York City where I'm living now. Anyway, I'll tell you that in the next episode. Thank you so much for watching. And look, if you don't mind, please buy me a coffee, help the channel grow. Like, share, subscribe, tell people about it. Get my whole life story here. Now we're getting into the New York story next. I'll talk to you guys again real soon. Thank you for watching. See you later.